Hello everyone and welcome to 5-Minute Fandoms. Yay! The goal of this series is to introduce people to all the wonderful and diverse fandoms out there in 5 minutes. And because there are so many, why can't I hold all these fandoms? I'm hoping this will help people decide which ones they'd like to check out. But before we get started, I'd like to give you guys a brief history of fandoms in 5 minutes. Timer please. And it starts now! Okay, the word fandom is a portmanteau of fanatic and domain. A fandom is a community, a group of people who all happen to like the same thing. Honestly, anything can have a fandom. Like, I remember being a huge fangirl for the Backstreet Boys back in the day. Oh my god, I'm just so in love with Nick Carter, I'm gonna die. Yeah, thank God I'm over the screaming fangirl phase. Oh my god, I'm just so in love with Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm gonna die. The most well-known kind of fandoms are typically TV, movies, and books. Fans express their enthusiasm through art, cosplay, creative writing, and meta-analyses so deep it even makes your English teacher go, "Nuh-uh, you're reading way too deeply into this. F." It doesn't matter if the thing is big or small. If it exists, there's a fandom for it. And if there's a fandom for it, that means there's porn of it. Now, I did a little research as to when fandom first became a thing, and apparently it was first used to describe sports enthusiasts, with its use being dated all the way back to 1903. And given, television and radio didn't really exist in the 1800s, it's kind of a given that literary fans were the first fandoms, and it's believed that fans of Sherlock Holmes composed the first modern fandom, with fanfiction being created as early as 1887. Ha ha, suck it, John Locke haters. John Locke 5 ever! And when Arthur Conan Doyle killed off the eponymous detective in The Final Problem in 1893, there were public demonstrations of mourning. It's good to know that it's been over a century later and things haven't changed one bit.
I'm a fake.
Sherlock. The newspapers will write all along.
Sherlock, you're not a fake! I believe you! Speaking of major feels over character deaths, it's definitely worth taking a look at Charles Dickens, who also had quite the fandom back in his day. Throughout the course of his career, Dickens killed a staggering 53 characters and 2 dogs. No! Not the dogs! Anyway, one of the most notable character deaths at the time was Little Nels in The Old Curiosity Shop. The Old Curiosity Shop was written in weekly installments, much like Dickens' other major novels, and this form of episodic writing made him very, very popular, with his readers greatly anticipating the next chapter. And when Dickens killed off Little Nell, everyone grieved. Irish leader Daniel O'Connell famously burst into tears before throwing his book across the room. Huh. That sounds familiar.
Nope!
Fast forward to the 1930s and the science fiction fandom. The first science fiction magazine, Amazing Stories, was published by Hugo Gernsback in 1926, and because his contributions as a publisher were so great, Gernsback is often called the father of science fiction. It was in the letter columns of his magazines that the sci-fi fandom first started, and these fans also started up the first fan conventions, with the World Science Fiction Convention, now known as Worldcon, being the first major one. Now, science fiction had been pretty popular on television from the 40s to the 60s. The early 50s had programs such as Captain Video and his Video Rangers, Tom Corbett's Space Cadet, and Space Patrol. They all proved to be pretty popular because the public's only exposure to sci-fi at the time was at the cinemas. And then the mid-60s hit with 2 space operas, the first one being Lost in Space and the other being, you guessed it, Star Trek. Okay, get this. When NBC threatened to cancel the original series during its second season due to low ratings, fans held a huge letter-writing campaign, and does anything feel different to you? Huh. Where did this guy come from? Oh, whatever. Anyway, fans held a huge letter-writing campaign to keep the series on the air. Oh, and fun fact, this campaign was led by a woman named Betty Jo Trimble. Do you hear that? That's the sound of MRAs throwing their fedoras on the ground. Isn't it beautiful? Unfortunately, the 3rd season was moved to the Friday night death slot and was canceled soon after. However, when Paramount began broadcasting reruns in late 1969, the show gained a cult following, and when the first Star Trek convention happened in 1972, also organized by a woman, it was estimated that there would only be a few hundred guests. They were wrong. Several thousand guests showed up. Oh, and let's not forget Beatlemania. I mean, holy crap, you want a well-known example of fandom, this is it. Mania is kind of a perfect word to describe fandom, and in fact has been used as a descriptor since 1844. Listomania was a term coined by German poet and essayist Heinrich Heine to describe the absolute chaos that happened at Franz Liszt concerts. This may not be the most comprehensive of histories, but I do hope it gives you guys some idea of the various ways fandom has manifested throughout the years. As long as large groups of people like things, there will be fandom, and like it or not, that's the way it is and will continue to be for as long as the human race is still alive. And I think that should cover
Excuse me!
Yes? Where are you?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah. What about the Lord of the Rings fandom? We've been here forever, and we had to wait a really long time between Return of the King and the first Hobbit film. You Sherlockians are weak! Weak!
Okay, so I obviously couldn't cover all the bases, but if I tried to cover every single prominent fandom, this video would be way longer than 5 minutes, and that just kind of defeats the purpose of the title. If you guys are interested in checking out some of the resources I compiled for this little history lesson, go ahead and check them out. They're in the description below. Yes, I actually did do research for this video. Anyway, tune in next time where I discuss my first fandom. What is it, you may ask? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, till the next time, viewers.